But we begin with more on what Jonathan Swan was just reporting for Axios in an exclusive interview. President Trump's former national security advisor, John Bolton, is sounding the alarm on the administration's North Korea policy. Bolton criticized his former employer, telling Axios, quote, "The idea that we're somehow exerting maximum pressure on North Korea is just unfortunately not true," and that the White House should take the, quote, "unusual step of admitting that its policy failed." Bolton's candid remarks come as North Korea is threatening a, quote, "Christmas gift," which could be the country's first test of a long-range nuclear missile, according to the U.S. Air Force's top general in the Asia-Pacific region. President Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un have met 3 times since 2018, but have so far failed to reach a deal on the reclusive country's nuclear program. Richard Haass, it feels like the president's bluster is much like the big bad wolf. It hasn't worked, and it sounds like John Bolton is compelling him to say so. Why?
Well, I can't speak for John Bolton. It's not just that the U.S. policy hasn't worked, Mika. Things have gotten progressively worse over 3 years. North Korea now has an estimate enough nuclear material for somewhere between 30 and 40 nuclear weapons. They've been regularly testing their shorter-range missiles. The president says he doesn't care about it. Obviously, Japan and South Korea do. But what we're going to see in a couple of days, quite possibly, is these tests on the shorter-range systems. The North Korea has learned things which they can then apply to their longer-range systems, which can reach us. Meanwhile, what are we doing? We're picking an enormous fight with South Korea. We're basically holding them up to ransom and say, unless you double or 5 times pay the amount of what you've been paying us for U.S. forces there, we're going to rethink the entire relationship. Plus, we've canceled all sorts of exercises. So again, it's not just that this policy hasn't worked. And we need a lot more, by the way, than an apology. What we need is a new policy. We need a new policy towards South Korea and Japan, a much more supportive one. And we need a much tougher policy towards North Korea and also Russia and China, who are increasingly breaking the sanctions that are meant to pressure North Korea.
And Katty Kay, these meetings the president has had have been these public relations disasters with the, American and North Korean flags behind them and all this pomp and circumstance and ultimately nothing, perhaps even a setback.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, why not talk, right? Is always better than the threat of military violence. But you have to get something if you're going to give North Korea that kind of legitimacy. Kim Jong-un really liked those photo ops that he got with President Trump. The question is, what did President Trump get in return? Richard, we've had North Korean leaders in the past, and I think of Kim Jong-un's father, always wanting attention, always saying, look, hold on a second, why am I not? It's like a child. It reminds me of my kids when they were 3 or 4 years old. Give me attention now. And I'm wondering whether this is what Kim Jong-un is doing at the moment. I've got a Christmas gift for you. Everybody's preoccupied with impeachment. They're all talking about other things. Focus on me. And often in these cases, it hasn't turned out to be that serious, the whatever he follows through with. Do you think it could be this time? Is there a real bite behind this threat?
Well, if he follows through with it, it could just be an incremental increase in his missile capability. I don't think he's going to take the big step of resuming tests of nuclear weapons themselves. I think there would be an awful lot of bite and not just bark. And that would put him much more on the defense, because the Chinese would not want that as well. So my hunch is he's looking for something intermediate to show he can still do things, but not to get crosswise with his patrons in Beijing and Moscow.
Well, perhaps Bolton's trying to have him get in front of the narrative. Certainly, Kim Jong-un would take any opportunity to humiliate an American president. And Trump has given him that platform. We'll return to this, but we've...
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.